Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Lord, the Atlanta Braves lost another series in 27-40. That was the record I predicted they would have in the second half, and that's starting to look maybe a
You're
little
on
generous.
pace.
Maybe a little generous.
Or are you overpaced?
I'm overpaced. And listen, things aren't going to get.
They've won 2 games and have lost 4.
Yeah. Things aren't going to get better probably when they go and trade a bunch of these pieces, which is expected to happen. Now, we will see some new faces, but that's going to come with some growing pains. And we already saw kind of like the definition of waving the white flag with Ronald Acuna most likely not going to play a lot of Sunday games moving forward. We saw him sit this Sunday, and if he has back-to-back days where he can get back-to-back off days like that, the season, if there were any questions about it, is over. I mean, they have won one series out of their last 9. One. They have 2 separate losing streaks this year of 7 games. Their longest win streak is 4 games. This team, the 2025 Braves, that have 11 All-Stars that have made the All-Star team over the last 4 seasons, 11. Some of them are injured, and I know that, have a worst record through 101 games in the 2015 Braves, who lost 95 games. This is not just the most disappointing team in franchise history. This is an embarrassment to the entire black stain on the franchise. That's what this season, and everybody's responsible, as we've said. I mean, Alex Anthopoulos had a terrible offseason as a general manager. You want to get into ownership? Yes. For some reason, payroll didn't rise. You can point to ownership. I'll accept it. Brian Snitker has not been good. And then the players have just been absolutely abysmal. But I think
we've been good. We've been good. You guys have been good. We've been supporting. We're selling out the stadium still.
It's amazing.
The only facet that hasn't failed is us.
Is the fans, yes. And I credit to the people that still go to games, because I'm not going to any more games. And it's not even just a lack of their support. I mean, the Atlanta Braves, like the way I was thinking about them this morning, they're like, you know, when you watch a TV show or a movie that's like so like the moment is so embarrassing that you almost want to pause it. You're like, oh, it's like making your skin crawl. That's what watching the Atlanta Braves in. Like, I just have to sometimes
secondhand embarrassment.
They go down 6-0, and I'm like, I'm turning this off. Like, I can't watch this. This is a proud organization. This is a team has won 24 of the last, 31 division championships, multiple World Series, the class of the National League alongside the Dodgers over the last 3 decades, 11 former All-Stars, second best odds to win the World Series, and they're going to lose 90-plus games this year. I mean, that is an embarrassment, and everyone from the owners down to the players should be talking like Spencer Strider. Like, you are allowed to crap on this organization. You are allowed to crap on everybody involved because they know it. They should accept it. Strider said it best. This is an embarrassment.
Yeah, it's pretty sobering comments from Strider. He continued that. It is an embarrassment, but I don't think that's exactly groundbreaking. But what was sobering is he continued and said, for the last 2 months, they've had conversations of like, hey, we're going to say goodbye to each other if we don't pick this up at the trade deadline. Like, we are not going to look the same. And that is a very unfamiliar for everybody, pretty much. Like, maybe there's a couple of guys. I think literally everybody, because like the longest tenured Brave right now is like Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna Jr. And like, they've really only experienced success. Like, were they a part of that 2017 team? I mean, I know Acuna won.
No.
Yeah, so like, there's only been good moments for every single Braves player here. This is the first where they're going to say goodbye and not hello to people at the trade deadline. And hopefully, it's like salt in the wound. And hopefully, they learn something from this. Hopefully there's some motivation. Like, getting motivated in baseball is much different than some other sports because it's such a long and drawn out season. I hope these guys go home in October and don't go. I hope Ozzie doesn't go to the aquarium. I hope Austin Riley doesn't go back to Mississippi. I hope Ronald Acuna Jr. stays in the country and watches all these other guys have fun and play on the biggest stage in baseball, because you're right. I wish I had a meaner word to say than embarrassment, because the fans deserve better, and the players would tell you that. Like, I don't think that they're going to, turn their, thumb their nose at you or excuse me, I just said that completely wrong. But you know what I'm saying? Spite the fans, I think they would be like, yeah, we're disappointing you, because what I just said earlier is true. The fan support has not wavered in terms of, eyeballs on the TV, stadiums being filled, merchandise being bought. Like, none of that has wavered whatsoever. And everything else has just fallen off a cliff. They owe us an apology at some point in time. I'm sure at exit interviews and things like that, there will be some apologies to the fans because generally speaking, I say the players don't owe us anything, but this is different. They owe us an apology for making us watch through what is, I don't even think it's arguable, the most disappointing season in Braves history.
Yeah, and the question is, how do they fix it? How do they fix it? And I know a lot of people are just kind of, and even Alex Anthopoulos himself is kind of just thinking, oh, well, the core is still here. The core is still good enough. We'll retool around the core. I just don't know if I see it with this group anymore. I just don't know. And I'm not saying that they can't retool, but I think what it's going to take is a lot of money. And it's really that simple. Like this bargain bin trying to retool around this core. This core is not good enough to do it by itself. They have shown that for 4 straight years. They have not won a playoff series. Like once they said goodbye to Freddie Freeman, and this is not a Freddie Freeman thing, but once they started saying goodbye to members of this core, they have slowly gotten worse. And now they're to the point where they're one of the worst teams in baseball. And yes, injuries have played a part. And yes, they've, maybe gotten a little bit unlucky, but this, you can't argue with being 44-57. Like this is a bad baseball team that needs a lot of work. And you look at left field. I don't know about Jurickson Profar. You look at the bullpen when Rafael Iglesias is gone. There's so many question marks there. I mean, that's going to have to be completely reconstructed. Starting pitching with A.J. Smith-Shawver being out probably all of next year. Ronaldo Lopez, I don't really view him as a starter moving forward. You got to get another starter and another good starter. Second base and shortstop can be looked at deeper. The depth needs to be improved. Like, this is going to take spending money, and you can't just say, oh, we're going to bring in this journeyman second baseman and he might be able to help us out and have a career year. No, you need to get legitimate players, all-star caliber players to fill these holes because the core that we currently have has proven they cannot get it done. And I think if they're willing to spend, yes, it can be fixed. But I think that's going to be the very, very interesting aspect of this offseason because they haven't been willing to go out there and pay $100 million. No one has gotten a bigger contract than $65 million in free agency. That has to change. If they're not going to change that, this team is not going to be better in 2026. And I think that's the harsh. They'll be better, but they're not going to be, they're not compete with the Dodgers. Like they're so far away from the real contenders right now. And it's going to take money. They're going to have to spend. And that's, to me, the most interesting aspect moving forward.
I agree with you and disagree with you. And this will be good going into the offseason and for more shows because generally we agree on pretty much everything because we're always right.
Except for the Braves this year.
There's no simple answer or it would have already been done by now. That I think we can all agree to that. But I do agree that it's going to take money. Like this lessening payroll or the fact that the Phillies are spending this much more money than us and the Dodgers. And listen, we're never going to be the Dodgers, but we sure as hell should be closer to them than say, the middle of the pack. But I do think that as currently constructed, and again, we can't even field a full team. So I'm not saying we could trot them out tomorrow and be just fine. But I do think that this team with the core, that 10 to 12 player core that you have, and then you build off of it, is very capable of turning right around next season and competing for a World Series title. I think, we can go through the positions maybe later in the season or even off season. But one simple fact that I saw somebody, post, and this isn't just a bad luck or a good luck thing. This is like a to your core who you are, I think. It is one-run games. If we just regress to the mean, we would be 4 games out of the wild card. Now, that's still not good. That's not World Series contender good. But if you combine that with maybe a little bit more health, and I do think, that you're right. It is going to take money because I'll go through it real quick. You need a starting caliber outfielder. And I'm not saying a 4th outfielder. I mean a starting caliber outfielder to take over center field or left field at any given moment and basically have 4 starting outfielders. I do think you need a starting middle infielder. Regardless of who it is, you need somebody who's better than what you've got offensively there. And then I think the bullpen doesn't need as much love. I think you need a closer, and that's going to be a big thing. But let's say you don't trade Pierce Johnson. He's a 7th inning guy. You're bringing back Joe Jimenez, who missed all of this past season. I agree. Lopez cannot be a starting pitcher, but guess what? He can be a reliever. Then you've got Grant Holmes, who could maybe float back and forth. You've got your 3 horses, and we haven't even talked about, the guys on the farm who could come up and help. And I'm not saying that that's got to be, who you depend on, but as we've seen, the Braves are pretty damn good about producing talent within their own system. So right then and there, I'm not saying that core can win a World Series, but that's a solid base to build upon. I just think this season has really, it's made people think the team is in a more dire situation than it really is. I do think that. And obviously you need people to bounce back. Like Austin Riley, we need you to be an MVP. We need you to be where Matt Olson is right now. Mike Harris, just be an average hitter. Ozzie Albies, just be an average hitter. Like, I mean, is that too much to ask for? Maybe Austin Riley, but the other 2 guys, can you just be average?
I just think what you're saying, like, even though you're disagreeing with me, you said a lot of stuff. Like that, and that's the point.
I got into an argument on Twitter, and I guess my definition of major changes is different. Maybe, that is major changes, but I was thinking, we're getting rid of core players. Like, we're trading Sean Murphy. We are not welcoming back Ozzie Albies. Mike Harris might not, we'll leave Mike Harris alone, but, we're adding, multiple starting pitchers, not just one starting pitcher. I know we need a closer pretty much no matter what. But
I just think you're saying a lot. And I listen, all of these things can happen, but when I just think about when the Braves were at their best in 2023 and 2022 and 2021 and those years, man, there just there wasn't a lot there. Like, we'd go into these offseason, we're like, we don't really have to do anything. Like, maybe get a starting pitcher, but and now you're going into an offseason, you're like, whew. Like that bullpen, and I know there are a lot of ifs, like Joe Jimenez and Ronaldo Lopez and stuff like that. Like, maybe those guys can come back, but I also don't know what the hell those guys are going to look like. We'll see what happens with who gets traded. You definitely need a closer. The outfield, you really only have one guy that you're like for certain on the roster right now that I trust. That's Ronald Acuna. Now, that's a big trust, but Michael Harris, I hope he bounces back. We don't really have a choice, but again, hoping. And then it's like Jerks and Profar. Are you going to make it? Like, let's see how he finishes out the second half of the season. And then the rotation, obviously, I think we've learned that we definitely need to add at least one more good arm. And I think at shortstop and second base, you're right. And that's just a lot of offseason to-dos with a team that doesn't go out there in free agency and spend money.
We can all agree.
The philosophy
we
has
can
to
disagree
change
on the semantics of it all. Whether you think that's major. I guess it is major if I really had to, give in. But we all agree that the money has got to be, that's got to be the end-all be-all, because you can't just keep pinching and hoping that people outperform these contracts. It's simply not feasible anymore, especially at the places that we need them. Like, you're not going to get a bargain at shortstop. It's just not possible. Like, left field, I feel like we've already, it's been long enough. Maybe we just, throw a bunch of money at it and see what happens. And like the Jared Kelenic experience or experiment, like I know that was still throwing money at it, but it was still like you're valuing more upside than you are like the floor. Maybe we just need a really, really high floor guy in all of these areas: starting pitching, left field, and a reliever.
The philosophy just has to change.
Yes, it does.
I think we're the days of Alex Anthopoulos striking gold. I think, you play with fire a little bit too much and you play these bargains and you get burned. And he got burned in 2020. I'm not even going to get into that. But the reason the Braves didn't go back-to-back is because Alex Anthopoulos didn't buy a legitimate pitcher. Just saying that. Coming up after the break, Falcons training camp start. We got a lot of news coming out, good and bad. We'll talk about it after the break. So a lot of news coming out on the first day of training camp. We'll get some injuries later. Kyle Pittz, of course, we got to talk about him. This is when he looks the best every time of year. Is there something there?
No pads on, no one's hit.
Yeah, Michael Penix did have some good things to say. So, of course, we're going to fall for it again and we're going to buy into it. So we'll get to that later. But let's start with something Raheem Morris said, and it really just irks me. It irks me. Talking about when asked about whether the Atlanta Falcons would start their starters in the preseason, he said, "I've remained undecided." Now, this is something Arthur Smith did as well. And you want to know a common theme with this team and not playing their starters in the preseason? They never make the playoffs. It blows my mind. Like, where do you get off as a head coach that you think you can waste practice reps when you have so many new faces. And we have had new faces every single year. Like, this has just been new faces, new coaches. I mean, how many offensive and defensive coordinators have we had? New quarterbacks. We have a new starter quarterback every single year. And they're not playing the starters. And Arthur Smith did it, and Raheem Morris did it last year. And every year we go out there and we look like crap week one. It's shocking how that works. It's shocking. And yet, you get asked this question, and it should be a no-brainer. You have a new center and a new quarterback. Like, those are the leaders of your leader of your. They're going to be calling plays throughout the season. Those two guys, and you have a second-year offensive coordinator. You got new pieces everywhere, and then on defense, I mean, hell, we only have like 6 returning start. What are we talking about? We're not going to start our players, and I understand. You don't want to get injured, but injuries happen in football. They happen in practice. They happen walking to the field. They happen off the field. They happen nonstop. You're going to get injured. It happens. It is literally the game. Injuries are explainable. If you go out there and a big piece of the preseason gets injured, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Raheem Morris, you're an idiot. But if you go out there and look unprepared week one, that's unacceptable. And then you mentioned in an article, check it out on SportsTalkATL, but the start of our season is playoff team, just like it was last year. You got to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was even more puzzling. Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles, that's not what I'm talking about, where you probably don't want Kirk Cousins to go out there. But Michael Penix played like 2 drives that entire preseason, like literally 2 drives. And the expectation was that he was a backup. And I get it, preserving the health and everything. You want to mitigate risk and all that stuff. The fact of the matter is, how I see it, and obviously they see it differently, is the risk to reward ratio of getting those reps outweighs the reward of getting those reps outweighs the risk of getting injured from where I sit. Now, obviously, I don't have all the information. Maybe I'm, not seeing something, but I just think you said it. If you keep doing something over and over and over and over again, and it's clearly not working, do you know how ugly that Steelers game was? That Steelers game was so pitiful last year to begin the season. And there was a lot of, factors in that. The Steelers defense is damn good. We learned that throughout the campaign. But, everything else didn't look great. Like, it wasn't a smooth operation. And I think if you're Raheem Morris, you've got, you just said it, 2 coordinators, and I know that Zach Robinson's in his second year, but he's effectively in year 1 still with Michael Penix. And obviously, Ulbrich has been here, done that. But again, he's got a whole new defense. We've got 4 rookies who are expected to be contributors on some level, 2 of which we're expecting huge contributions, and everyone else is still learning a new system. I have no idea why this is even being talked about anymore. I understand the counter argument of the injuries. The rebuttal is what we just said, though, that I think the risk to reward ratio says play your guys. This is not the Ravens. We are not the Chiefs. We are not the Rams and all these teams who are constantly in the playoffs with a head coach and an offensive coordinator and a quarterback who have been there, who have done that, who know each other like the back of their hand. They know what each other order at restaurants. Guys, we have no continuity at any point anywhere on the roster, literally nowhere. Even the one thing we could hold our hats on for the longest time, the offensive line, the most important piece other than maybe left tackle or right tackle for the Falcons is center. And we've got a new guy. I cannot understand the argument. The only argument outside of injuries, potential injuries, is actual injuries. So Lindstrom's not playing. Sorry, Mike Penix, you're not playing. I do. That is one thing where it's 0. It's cut and dry for me. It's 1s and 0s. If all 5 guys are healthy, Michael Penix is playing. If even one guy is not playing, you're not playing Michael Penix.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that with the offensive line, especially with Penix's injury history from the past. But it really just boils down to, what you just said, what I just said. And also, when I go out there every season, I watch Patrick Mahomes play in the preseason. If Patrick Mahomes can play in the preseason with Andy Reid, who literally have each other memorized in the back of their hand, and Travis Kelce, who's 78 years old, is out there, what the hell are the Falcons doing not playing their starters? If the best teams in the league, you mentioned the Ravens, and I don't know, I can't quite remember. I remember specifically with the Chiefs because I'm always like, damn, they went back to back and he's still just out there first game of the preseason slinging it around, having fun. But
the perfect example is Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow never plays in the preseason, and I think they have the worst record in August and September across the entire league. Like, the proof is in the pudding.
Most of the best teams, even teams that are coming off Super Bowls,
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick play their starters.
I don't understand how you can, like, how you think you're so, like, you have a guy in Michael Penix that's so special that it's not risk worth getting him.
It's crazy that he didn't even play last
when
preseason.
Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, the best players in the history of this game at the position, are playing every single preseason. Why the hell do you think you have Michael Penix? Oh man, Michael Penix has played 3 games and has 4 total touchdowns. We can't start. What logic is that? And it just pisses me off because it gets you right. It takes one day for the Falcons to piss me off. It takes one day, because what are we doing? They better play, and I know whatever. It's just words at this moment. We'll see what happens, but Jesus, what are we doing? Like, come on, Falcons. Penix better be under center. Every single one, not every single one. 1, 2, and 3. We got 3 games. He better play in all 3 of them. We got more Falcons training camp stuff coming up after the break. One day into Falcons training camp, and we already have an injury to report on. And surprise, surprise, Alex, if I were to give you $1,000 to name which Falcons would be injured on the first day of training camp or ending training camp injured, you'd probably say this name, Troy Andersen, who will begin the training camp on the PUP list. Now, this doesn't mean he's going to miss week 1, but it is alarm bells going off when you got a guy that missed a lot of time in 2024, most of time in 2023, entering a contract year, and he's already not going to miss the early parts of possibly the preseason and training camp.
Yeah, looking like a what-if kind of a story. It sucks because a lot of guys love him. You know, a lot smarter people than me say that he's got it, and it's hard to argue. Last year, that week 4 game against the Saints, I mean, that was like the moment. I think everybody was, I mean, he had a pick 6, but even out, like, take away the pick 6, just like from being a linebacker, he was all over the field. He had 17 total tackles that game. I mean, he was all over the field. You saw the athleticism on display. You saw what made him so attractive to the Falcons front office when they drafted him in the second round in 2022. Like, you saw everything clicked, and it was like, okay, we got a dude. We got a guy at the second level. When you got a guy at the second level who can go sideline to sideline, it makes everything a lot easier on everybody else. And then he hurts his knee at the end of that game, and it's the same song and dance. He never really got back. I don't know if it's the same knee or not. That's just lingered throughout the offseason, or
if it is, that's
not good.
That's a huge red flag. And that might, listen, you start getting this injury history, and they know way more than us. So when you talk about the signing of Divine Diablo and when we signed him, it kind of being like, oh, like, we kind of have linebackers. And then you draft Jalen Walker, who can also play a little bit of role. And we've even seen D'Angelo Malone trying himself out at inside linebacker, even though I don't expect that to go anywhere. But they know, like, when something could be a lingering issue. And then the fact that this is a knee issue going right into training camp that he may have been dealing with. Yeah, not a great, like, all the signs when you kind of add them up together, including free agency and went on last year and now leading into training camp, you kind of wonder, like, what is really going on there?
Yeah, I mean,
Morris did say he looks great and is ready. Now, I don't know what that means, but that is what he said.
I mean, come on. Raheem Morris could sell, ice to an Eskimo. I mean, that guy, he's got a snake tongue. I wouldn't take anything he says too seriously when it comes to stuff like that. He's going to go to bat for his guy, player coach. It is concerning. I mean, contract year, has not had a single healthy season other than that rookie year. I can't even be sure, but he didn't play defense. He was only on special teams. I can't even be sure, to tell you he didn't miss any time, but I think that was the last time he's really healthy. Every single year. 2022 played a couple of games, torn pec. 2024, the knee, and now this same knee. I mean, it's concerning, and it's another one of those high draft picks that you thought was going to work out in the moment, and is clearly not. I am still, I'll say this: I'm glad that they did sign somebody in hindsight. I wish it wasn't Divine Diablo. Because, you're paying him starting money and now he's going to start. So that's all good and well. But I don't know exactly what they saw when he was with the Raiders to, make them give him that contract. We're going to see because it looked like, you said it it's not, he can play week 1. He's not on the, PUP list, and he'll miss the first 4 games of the season. This is a completely different list. He can be activated on the final 53, and that's when the decision will be made. When we learn that, we'll learn if he's going to be able to play or he's going to, miss the first 4 games. But this sucks. And honestly, out of all of the Terry Fontenot draft picks, and I'll bash a lot of them, 75, 80% of them, this is the one, I was like, stop, wait, he gets hurt, but it's fine. When he's on the field, he's really, really damn good. He's on the field, he's really, really damn good. It sucks because this is the one I did think, as long as he's healthy, he could be a dude.
I mean, of all the second round picks, for sure. I mean, the second round picks have generally gone to waste in his tenure. I mean, Matthew Bergeron looks like he's going to be a guard of the future. Arnold Ebiketie, we don't really know much about him. I think we're hopeful on Rook, but Troy Andersen, in terms of upside, when we saw him have those moments, and yes, there were growing pains. It wasn't perfect, but linebacker at this level,
he was like the only guy in the past 5 years who could run backwards and cover someone.
When you go from Montana State or what, this guy, he wasn't playing like D1 football. I mean, he was playing 7-on-7 in high school. So there was always going to be a learning curve that this guy is like this freak athlete that is going to blossom into something special. And every time he seemingly found some of those moments where you're like, oh, that game, he looked like he was going to be a stud. It was followed up with an injury, and it was like clockwork. And that's just how it's been. And again, that's football. That's why, guess what? It doesn't matter if you play these guys in the preseason, Raheem. If they're going to get injured, they're going to get injured at some point. We got 18 weeks of football, hopefully more, right? Hopefully we got postseason 19, 20, 22. Hopefully we have a ton of games, but that's why I think resting him, because guys are going to get
also
hurt.
Your most important player, we have the best backup in the league.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Kirk Cousins at all this year, but let's not beat around the bush. We could take a little bit of risk with Michael Penix.
Yep, and try to be aggressive on them. Kyle Pittz, coming up.
I'm back
after the break. Kyle Pittz, are we back? No, you will never convince me to be back, but Alex has never left. So credit to him. I guess credit to him if he does end up turning around. He will be a part of the Hive. I think Kyle Pittz is he's got to be the most polarizing guy on the Falcons, right? I think he's got the closest number of 50-50, maybe 60-40. There's still people that believe in him and believe that the quarterback situation and the injuries, everything could still all come together for him. And then there's people like me, and there's a lot of people like me that are just, they're done. They're done. They're done with him. We're entering a contract year. Even if he has a good year where he catches 800, 900, 1,000 yards, which would be way better than what he's done in the past, I don't know how you justify giving him a second contract, which makes this pick a complete and total failure. But Michael Penix was saying a lot of KP today in training camp, no pads on, a lot of targeting Kyle Pittz. And he said, expect to see a lot of that this season, which when you hear your first full year starting quarterback say that, it does make you, maybe even the biggest doubters, maybe.
Don't come crawling back.
I'm not crawling back.
All of you, don't come crawling back.
I will stick to my guns no matter what. First of all, the first thing I want to say is I do want Kyle Pittz to succeed, because having a successful season would be huge for this Falcons offense. And if he's having a good season, I know Drake London and Bijan Robinson are a good season, and that means Michael Penix had a really good season. So I want Kyle Pittz to be a superstar for the Falcons this year, but I will stick to my guns all season, at least saying we should not give him a second contract. I just think there's too much proof in the pudding that you can hand this guy top dollar at the tight end position for a second contract.
Yeah, top dollar's crazy. I'm definitely not advocating for that. And part of it is a bit, I do enjoy leaning into the Kyle Pitts bit a little bit, because you're right. I mean, he is very polarizing. People hate him. And I do have a genuine belief that he can be something in this league, because I've seen it. And I'm not talking about his rookie year from Matt Ryan. Go back to last year. There were moments, and obviously there were bad moments, but there were moments where you looked at him, you saw him running like that gazelle that he is, a 6'6" freak, and you go, yeah, that's the guy that we drafted. That's the guy we made the highest tight end of all time. And I get it. People are spurned. It looks like he's rounding off his routes. He doesn't care. He's catching Michael Penix passes him and gift wrapping them to, the opposing defenses and everything like that. But I am still in because I've seen the glimpses. If you can just, expand that, just be more consistent. And I think, the argument of, it's not his fault is completely overplayed, but it's not baseless. The argument that, it's just Kyle Pittz is completely insane. Zach Robinson needs to put Kyle Pittz in a position to succeed. Guess who he was working out with this first practice of Falcons training camp? The wide receivers, taking a bunch of boundary snaps. That's probably where he should be, no? I don't think we should have our, unicorn Ferrari, brushing shoulders with 300-pound refrigerators. Like, leave that to the other guys. Leave that to the other tight end. Like, the matchups are also on the outside. Let him body up a corner. And for God's sake, stop asking him to work in a phone booth. The guy is 6'6". Let him stretch his legs. It's like the Falcons offense asks this freak of nature to sit in an airplane seat and succeed. Like, maybe we don't do that. I don't know. That could be a good idea. And again, it is partially a bit, but I do think genuinely that, like, there is something there still as long as he's healthy, and, Michael Penix shouting him out, I think more so for maybe Pittz than anybody. Like, hey, you're still that guy. You're still that guy that was the most dominant player in the SEC in 2020, highest drafted tight end of all time. You're still that guy, and I'm going to find you. I'm going to feed you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with Kyle Pittz is it's very possible that he's more just a one-trick pony rather than this all-around tight end at this level, but that one trick can still be very valuable. It can still be explosive plays. It can still be targeting him down the field. And when you have so many weapons, I mean, Darnell Mooney and Drake London is a legit, it might've been the best outside of Jamar Chase and T Higgins. Like it was right up there with one of the best wide receiver duos in football. And you have Bijan Robinson, like Zach Robinson's got to find a way to get him effective. And I definitely think he's a huge piece of the puzzle. A couple more segments coming up after the break. The Atlanta Braves don't have a lot of positive things to talk about when it comes to the Major League Club. Maybe not any positive things, but we did get a little positive note on Owen Murphy, who was a guy that I talked about a ton last season. He was unbelievable, literally unhittable for high A Rome last season. And then, of course, the dreaded Tommy John surgery struck. But he made his return to the mound for the rookie ball team and tossed 3 innings, 10 whiffs, 5 strikeouts. Perfect. I mean, just absolutely perfect. Now, he was obviously playing much slower than he's going to play moving forward, but still, first time on the mound, he looked unbelievable, and that's a very, very good sign for one of the Braves' top prospects. And another one of these arms that we could be talking about a potential 2026 debut for the Major League Club.
Yeah, 4-pitch mix, not overpowering stuff, the heater. And I think that was the craziest thing. I saw somebody tweet out, that fastball sat right around where it was pre-Tommy John. And that's one thing for these guys who don't throw 99, 100 seemingly is easier for them to do. We saw Strider. He's still working his way back. I assume he'll be closer to 99 next season. But for Owen Murphy, who I don't want to call him a finesse pitcher, maybe a precision pitcher is maybe easier or more accurate. Pun intended, it's easier for him to come back from Tommy John surgery. And I think that you said it, like he's only going to get, 5 or 6 starts or, because the minor league season ends a little bit earlier than the major league season. But that's a guy might not start on 2026 opening day roster, certainly won't probably, but a guy who could certainly make, his MLB debut. We know the Braves that they'll push a pitcher through the system without even thinking twice about it.
Yeah, there's no doubt that if he continues to pitch like he has so far in the minor league level, they're going to start moving him up. And you're right, he's not necessarily a power pitcher, but I am interested to see how he comes back from Tommy John because everyone comes back from some guys come back stronger. And he's still a young arm. I mean, this guy was drafted with the 20th overall pick back in 2022 out of high school. So I think he's about 21 years old. So there's a lot of room for him to still grow and get some strength and get a couple more ticks on that fastball. And who knows, by this time next year, he could be thrown in the mid 90s. And then you're like, oh, dang, like with all of his other stuff, with his 4-pitch mix that has been unhittable in the lower levels of the minors, you could be looking at something very, very exciting. Excuse me. And there's a lot of guys that could be soon making their major league debut for this club this year and next season. And that would be a huge development because like we said, the one thing that this team needs is a legitimate starting pitcher. So not all these guys are going to work out, but if just one of these guys, whether it's J.R. Ritchie, Owen Murphy.
We need not only the same thing we've been doing, which is pumping out Spencer Strider, pumping out Schwellenbach, and before the injury, pumping out AJ Smith-Shawver. We still need to continue to do that because that is how you sustain long-term success, obviously. But we need to trickle in. We need to trickle in a free agent or two. And that's just it's just a glaring truth of the matter when you look at this Braves team, the 2024 team, the 3 team, the 2 team, hell, the 1 team that won the World Series. Like, we have not had healthy starting pitchers ever. And, some people might go, well, our guys are, injured. Everybody's injury prone. Nobody is going to be healthy ever because there's so much stuff on these guys' arms. Nobody's going to be healthy. So the solution seems obvious. Throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. I do wonder if there is anything with the way that the Braves go about their pitchers that has caused some of these injuries. I don't know. I mean, it could just be terrible luck, but it is a staggering amount. And this is going back to Kyle Wright. I mean, Mike Soroka. And Mike Soroka was more freak stuff, but he did deal with a lot of shoulder stuff. And then, Ronaldo Lopez and Grant Holmes been able to say, but then you got Spencer Strider and AJ Smith-Shawver. And yeah, it does seem like everybody's kind of a ticking time bomb, especially when you're throwing at 97, 98 miles per hour. And that just may be the case, just some really bad luck. But man, I mean, they have had a staggering amount of young arms come through this organization and just not, I mean, even Ian Andersen, arms got shot and
he doesn't have any stuff.
Yeah. So it just, I mean, it's either maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think so, but man, it is a staggering amount of arms that has just not been able to stay healthy because they have drafted so many pitchers. And when you look at all of the pitchers that they've drafted, a lot of them have had spurts, especially recently, but the only one that's really made it through like an entire career is Max Fried.
We didn't even draft him.
You traded for him, and that's 10 years of just acquiring pitching talent, and that's one guy. And that's the story of prospects. That is the story of prospects, and not a lot of them work out long term. You have guys that come up and have their moments, but with the way, especially pitchers, and that's why we've drafted so many of them. But it is interesting that they kind of went away from that, I think, in this year's draft.
People keep calling me crazy, and I love them. I love the hair. I love the mustache. Selling high on Grant Holmes, I think, is not the craziest thing. Now, obviously, it is crazy because he's a cost controls pitcher. He's a solid 4, very solid, more than solid number 4. And if you could even push him back to number 5, he could be the best 5th starter, depending on what the Phillies do. But that arm, I'm concerned. He has never pitched this much in his entire career. We saw what it did to Ronaldo Lopez. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You can't predict these things.
Well, and here's the thing. The Braves haven't been selling high. There's been a number of players they could sell high, and now they can't sell high on any of them. And maybe they should have sold high on a few of them when you think back in the grand scheme of things. So it's definitely something that should be considered, and maybe it will be considered. I think this week could be an interesting one for the Braves leading up to the trade deadline. We got one more thing to talk about coming up after the break. It's prediction time here on Sports Talk ATL as we wrap up our show on this Thursday. And of course, and this is subject to change. It doesn't have to be something. I'm sure we'll talk about this subject several times leading up to the season. But with the first day of training camp, Alex, I got to hear, how you feeling? It's all positive vibes pretty much.
Yeah, I try and pump the brakes up till this point. I go, Raheem Morris is not a good head coach. I know some people might think I'm shading him. Michael Pittz is still a rookie. Lots of new pieces on the defense. Expecting rookie pass rushers to have this big impact. You're crazy. I see the first highlight video.
And you're hyped.
And it's Michael Penix MVP, Drake London All-Pro, Bijan Robinson's offensive rookie or player of the year, top 10 defense, Jalen Walker's defensive rookie of the year, Raheem Morris's coach of the year. First highlight. I'm like, we could do it.
Yeah,
we could do it.
I mean, we could be a better version of the Commanders and actually make it to the Super Bowl. I completely agree. How many wins you giving them? That's the prediction for today. As of right now, how many wins are you feeling in your stomach for this Falcons team?
Postseason drought is over. 9-8. I know a lot of people are going to be like, only 9-8. Our win total 7.5 games, guys. And that, I think you said it perfectly, is it's baked in. Michael Penix could be a bad rookie. He could be a good rookie. 7.5. I think he's going to be a good rookie. I think there's plenty of talent around him, more talent than Jane Daniels on both sides of the ball. I think we could have a better coaching staff. I don't know. 9 wins.
I mean, come on, guys.
13?
It's first day of training camp. We're gonna start high, maybe work our
way down.
Maybe whittle our way down.
We'll get into the middle.
Yeah.
We'll meet in the
once
middle.
Once I see them in preseason, the starters don't play. We're minus in 2. But right now, I think the starters are going to play. 11 wins, baby.
Okay.
How many people think are going to? It's everybody. Everybody is 11 wins for every team in the league. That's just how it works in the NFL. That wraps up our show. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back with you tomorrow.